Hey guys, I'm Ansh,
And I'm Shrikar.
and welcome to Football Mezzanine. So this week we'll be having a look at the games that took place during the week, do a quick review of the January transfer window, and also we'll have some advice for you fantasy Premier League managers on what players to pick for next game week. Hey everybody, you're listening to the first issue of Football Mezzanine, and we're gonna just dive right into the games here.
So this week, the first game that took place was Burnley Manchester City in a 1-1 draw.
Yeah,
Um,
so 1-1. I mean, only the fourth time Man City have failed to win the season. So a lot of credit to Burnley for that, actually. A lot of people aren't doing that. They're not giving Burnley the credit they deserve, even though it wasn't the greatest performance from Man City. Uh, Key points, Sterling with probably the miss of the season. I don't know if you saw it, Shrikar, but I don't know. It's
oh,
kind
I
of
saw
hard
the
to.
highlight reel. And I kind of feel bad for him, but not really. I mean, it happens in football. It happens that players miss, but yeah, it's okay. What can you do?
It's honestly hard to criticize him because he's already won City so many points this season. Like
So many late goals. So
the
many
amount
late
of like
goals.
goals he scored is actually incredible, and I hate to say it, but I guess he's deserved one poor miss like that. So can't really knock him for that.
No,
Pep
he's a quality player. He's proven it time and again. He'll bounce back. It's not an
this
issue
season
for
especially,
Sterling.
yes, yeah. And one thing I didn't really like was Pep subbed him off right away, and I mean that's not really going to help his confidence. So I
Yeah, I
mean,
thought that was a bit out of character, but yeah,
yeah,
Pep should have probably let him play on and maybe nick another goal to like get back his confidence. But it's okay. But Burnley though, again, going to a top six side and putting up a solid performance.
yeah, they were actually at home, Burnley, so it's kind of expected. They're always strong at home. They're actually in a bit of a winless run right now, but every time I see them play Burnley, they always seem to be so cohesive and so well structured as a team. And I think it's something that Sean Dice has done really well when he's been there. He doesn't almost get enough credit for what he's done, but they made it really difficult for City this game.
And the thing with Burnley is they're like one of those core English teams with like the old school English mentality of defense and like solid defensive players.
Yeah,
And I think
exactly.
that plays to the strengths of something that we don't see much in the Premier League these days as to what we used to see before.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And even their goal, Burnley's goal, came about because of a cross into the box. And to be honest, it was a pretty accurate cross if they weren't just hoofing it in, like we might say. But I have to say, Kyle Walker's defending there left a lot to be desired. England's first choice right back and a 50 million pound player. I think he should be doing better. I don't think he actually got mentioned at all during the post match of this game, but I would say that the Burnley goal was probably his fault. So Kyle Walker should have done a lot better there. But the City goal came about from unlikely source, Danilo.
Yeah,
Doesn't really get many games this season, but that was a pretty crazy strike. A week of crazy strikes. Lots of
so many
crazy
crazy
goals to talk
goals.
about again, which we'll mention again coming to the Liverpool game later on. But yeah, that was a great goal.
And that leaves Burnley in seventh.
Burnley,
They're 9 points behind, 9 points behind Arsenal, but that's pretty solid for Burnley at this point. I
yeah.
don't. I think they'll stick in seventh. I don't think they're gonna go maybe a place down to eighth maybe.
And one more interesting point that I'd like to mention from this game is Pep has been getting a lot of stick for only having six subs on his bench. I don't know if you heard about it, but Gary Neville's criticism was pretty obvious, and I'm a Man City fan myself, and I don't think a lot of people realize how thin our squad actually is. I know it sounds rich coming from someone like me who's supporting a club that's obviously so rich. But I mean, if you look at the squad, we have one recognized left back who's been injured for pretty much the entire season, Mendy. And so we've been
Right.
forced to play Delph there for the entire season, who's done tremendously well, thankfully. And now Delph is injured as well. So what Pep has done is he's played a youngster there, Zinchenko, which not many people seem to pick up on, but he's done really well. And again, he's from our academy,
Right,
um,
right.
which a lot of people didn't see, and Danilo
But
as
we don't
well.
see that often in football where you're not using the entire subs bench.
We don't. You're right. But I mean, when you look at the injuries we have right now, we have we pretty much before we brought in Laporte for this season, we had three center defenders and one which was always injured because company's pretty much always injured now. Um, we only have one player who can play the DM role, Fernandinho. So if Fernandinho gets injured, our entire season could have been pretty much off the racks right there. And we only have two strikers, and Jesus has been injured again for quite a majority of the time. So
Right,
like
picked up
our
another
squad,
long-term injury.
I feel like Pep has substituted quality over quantity this season, which I mean a lot of people haven't really realized just because we've been doing so well, but because of these
And
injuries,
to be fair, it's worked. It's worked. So
it's worked,
why
but
not?
it's almost catching up to them now because these players have played every single game for the past 2 months, and Kevin De Bruyne was mentioning it this week when he said, for the first 10 games of the season, you feel amazing. For the next 10 games, you feel okay. And for the rest, you feel like crap. Which is definitely true because these players have had to play week in, week out for these like really
Right, and
busy winter
it
months.
comes down to game management at the end because a club like City who has aspirations to, you know, do the treble or even the quadruple, I
Uh-huh.
think game management could bite them in the ass
For
later on in
sure,
the
for
season.
sure. And it's something that I've noticed. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of the top clubs seem to rely on a very small core of players to get them through a lot of their games throughout the season. Chelsea did it last season. They pretty much won the league with 13 first team players,
Right.
like mostly used by
They put
Conte.
out the same 11 for,
Pretty much every team,
yeah,
every game. And so did Real Madrid last season, and so have Barcelona this season. Like, it seems like that's the formula for success, finding a good group of players and then just you don't really have to substitute much if they're playing well, so fair enough.
right.
All right, so
All is well. City's top of the table. Burnley's settled. Moving on. Bournemouth 2, Stoke City 1.
yeah, so I mean, let's get your thoughts on this game, Shrikar.
Bournemouth. I personally love Eddie Howe as a manager. He brings an attacking style of play to a lower Premier League team, which hasn't been seen a lot before, and I think he's done a remarkable job from like the beginning of the season
Right.
in getting Bournemouth back up. Bournemouth are ninth now, 31 points. Look settled, 9 points away from the magical 40-point figure, and I think they've done extremely well this season. Stoke, on the other hand, changed their manager, not doing so well, into the drop zone. I don't know. The
Yeah,
bottom
they seem pretty
nines.
uninspired this season.
Stoke generally just seem lackluster as like a team right now. They're just like putting out players to play a game. I
Mhm.
don't really see any cohesion in the team, which could
Yeah, for
change. I don't
sure.
know. We've seen changes with Swansea this season, which I didn't expect. So you never know, but
Yeah, well, we'll see how it ends up. So Brighton 3-1 West Ham.
very interesting. 3 goals for Brighton. I haven't seen Brighton score too many goals this season, and putting 3 past a David Moyes side. Very good on Brighton. 21 shots in the game. West Ham only had 4.
Right.
Again, it's a packed relegation zone right there. 12th,
Yeah,
13th,
I mean
all
West Ham
separated by
again.
6 points.
West Ham again. They're just so inconsistent. They'll have a good result one week, and their fans will be like optimistic again, and then they'll go and lose 3-1 comfortably against Brighton. So
Right.
it seems like every team in the bottom half right now isn't finding any consistent form, which is the reason why it's so packed down there.
Crazy. Welcome to the Premier League, I guess.
Yeah. So Leicester City 1-1 Swansea City. Thoughts on this game?
Vardy, 12th goal of the season. Mara still out for Leicester. I don't know what's going on with Mahrez.
Yeah,
Is it another Coutinho back injury type saga? Which
I
I
mean,
think it is.
I don't really understand it right now though because the the window's closed. The earliest you're gonna get a move is this summer. So what's the point of not showing up to training now? Like eventually you're gonna have to show up anyway. So he's
Right.
just making the situation more embarrassing for him. Although I do understand, like he wants to move to a bigger club. He's in the prime of his career, right? He wasn't.
Right, right.
He doesn't want to be stuck at Leicester forever. But at this point, I think it would make sense for him to come back to training.
Right. I mean, it doesn't do anyone any favor if he's not playing. He needs to play to stay fit, and
Yeah,
Leicester
exactly.
need him to keep their form. Swansea, a draw. Surprisingly, Swansea are sixth in the form table, which is impressive. Really
Mhm.
impressive. They've come into 2018 with a bang, 3 wins in their last 6. Could they stay up, pull up another great escape? We'll have to see.
I've always liked Swansea, so I'd like to see them stay up. I love their style of football.
Swansea are kind of a bogey team for Liverpool. Never really rated them. Wouldn't be disappointed to see them drop.
That's Liverpool fans for you guys. Okay.
Moving
so-
on to the next game. United 2, Huddersfield 0.
Yeah.
What are your
So
thoughts?
Lukaku scores, Sanchez scores, all is good, right? No. Mourinho dropping Pogba for this game. It seemed like a very surprising decision when the news came out. Mourinho played down the issue in his press conference, but I don't know about this one. I mean, it's probably not going to be much of an issue in the future, but Pogba did seem to have words with Mourinho in the the Tottenham game, and
Right.
could that be the reason that something like this has happened? I don't know. Thoughts
Or it
on-
could be
what-
just
what are your thoughts on
rotation.
that?
It could be rotation. I don't know. Pogba could have had
Perhaps.
a slight injury.
It could just be a rotation. You're right.
I
but-
mean, he is an 89 million pound player, and he wouldn't like to be dropped. But I
course
I
not.
can see why Mourinho would do that. We'll have to see, I guess, if it continues to repeat itself as Pogba not being like played or on the bench, then it could prove to be something significant. But right now, it's fine. I
Yeah.
don't think it's too much of an issue.
I hope not.
Huddersfield. Oh man,
Huddersfield
6 losses.
They started the season really well, Huddersfield, like they were proving a lot of people wrong, because a lot of people tipped them for relegation straight away when they came back up. But it seems they need a little boost at the moment because they aren't doing too well. 19th.
No, it looks bad for them. Moving on to the next game, West Brom 2, Southampton 3, high scoring game.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts?
West Brom, I think they shocked me when they played Liverpool at Anfield, and I'm like, could this be a turning point in their season, Putting, was it 3 goals? They scored 3 goals
That was
versus
3 goals,
Liverpool.
yes.
I don't think I've seen West Brom score 3 goals in my life, so that was pretty surprising. But they seem to be scoring a lot of goals. It's just their defense that they need to sort out, They
Right.
have, I'm pretty sure, the oldest average age in the Premier League. But I don't know. Again, inconsistency. These teams are very inconsistent.
Pardew's never been relegated, so
That's
could
true.
that be a sign? I don't know.
That's true.
And Daniel Sturridge also moving to West Brom.
Yeah, he's a quality signing in my opinion.
Quality signing, but he needs to stay fit to have any shot of making the England squad for the World Cup.
That is true.
He has to score goals because
It's true.
this is his last shot at a World Cup, and that's why he probably pushed for the move because Klopp wasn't playing him at Liverpool.
Mm-hmm. So, Arsenal 5, Everton 1. Shrikar, let's have you start off with that.
5 goals. I loved watching the game. I thought Everton were really poor, but not to take anything away from Arsenal. I was surprised how the signings gelled in so quickly because it seemed like they've been playing for like ever. Aubameyang, Mkhitaryan.
Well,
Ramsey.
they had played together in Dortmund, right? So
Right.
take that
But
into account.
in a new like system in a new country in a new league.
Of course,
I was a little surprised. 5 goals. 5 goals is a lot against the Sam Allardyce side.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just don't want to read too much into this performance because the classic Arsenal way is to go and raise all their fans' spirits by having
Right.
a big performance like this at home, and then
And this will count for nothing if they go on to lose their next game.
Exactly, and then they'll go to an away game, and then they'll end up losing 2-0 to a bottom half team. So you never know with Arsenal, to be honest.
But to be fair to them, they have brought in a replacement for Sanchez.
They
Probably the
have,
best replacement they could find in
but
Aubameyang.
I still think they're not a top four club unless they fix their defense and fix their midfield, because their midfielders and defenders are nowhere near the caliber of a top four club.
Right, they seem a little top heavy at this point, but we'll have to see
Yeah.
how it pans out. Moving
Everton?
on to Palace. Everton are, I don't know, man. Everton, they seemed
Same old.
on a resurgence. Same old. They were on a resurgence when Allardyce came in.
Okay, well, we can move
They
on
dropped
then.
off. I don't know. Yeah.
So,
Palace
Crystal
won.
Palace
Newcastle won.
yeah, let's start off with your thoughts on that.
It's one of those games that no one really wants to watch. Palace
Unless you're a
won. It's a
fan.
1-1. Unless you're a fan. I mean, come on. It's a 1-1 draw. It was boring to say the least. Although there were a lot of shots, not too many on target. It's interesting for both teams. They're in that relegation scrap again. I guess we'll have to wait for maybe 5 or 6 more game weeks to actually see who's drifting to the top and who's gonna get relegated.
Fair enough. Okay, so just a little matter of a small boring game that took place.
Very boring. What game?
Liverpool 2, Tottenham 2. So, since you're the Merseyside fan here, I'll let you start off with this.
I watched the entire game almost, and I thought Liverpool started off really well, really bright. In the first half, we basically dominated Tottenham, and I felt that we should have had another goal or maybe
Agree.
2.
Agree.
Because if we had another goal or 2, we'd have killed off the game right there, and there's no chance for Tottenham to come back in. But we
Agree.
didn't get that other goal, and then Milner came close, and then we had a couple of the shots, Mane here and there. But
Again, you could say the same for Tottenham in the second half, because
Right.
in my opinion, they completely dominated the second half. It just turned the game on its head, pretty much.
And with the press, I think an interesting point to note is Henderson came off in the 60th minute, 57th minute, because he just came back from a long-term injury. So after Henderson dropped off, I felt there was a little lack of energy,
Right.
and that
He
really
actually did
affected
well
the
this game.
press.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
criticize Henderson a lot, but I think he actually did well this game.
A lot of interceptions, key
Yeah.
moments,
So let's talk about the final 15 minutes, shall we?
the final 15 minutes.
So, Victor Wanyama. Okay,
Oh, what a
well,
goal.
You know what?
What a goal.
I jumped off my bed when I first saw this strike. It was like
Same. I had the same reaction. I was pissed off, but
it was deserved because
was a
Tottenham
deserved goal.
deserved a goal in the second half, but oh my goodness. He comes on, I'm pretty sure that was like his first touch. So
Yeah,
crazy
yeah.
goal. And then comes the controversy. So, what did you think of the first penalty?
Okay. My issue with the first penalty is my issue with referees in general in England is inconsistency, because one week the same decision goes the other way, and the next week a very, very similar incident is being awarded in a completely reverse manner. Like that can't happen, because if you have to stick by the rules, you have to stick by the rules all the time. It can't be like, oh, I'm going to do this week, but then I'm going to reverse my decision for like the same incident the next week, right? So I'm fine with a referee following the rules, but I just ask for it to be consistent, because this is, I think, the 4th or 5th time this season Liverpool like have personally been affected by a refereeing incident. There was the
Right.
one against Everton, the handball, Lovren. There were multiple incidents throughout the season, and I think it's a little unfair,
Right.
because my issue with Lovren is that it's offside, and
Right.
the point being the deliberate pass. It's not deliberate, because I get how the rules can be interpreted to think that it's deliberate, but there is no, because if that ball passes Lovren and the offside isn't called for Kane,
Right.
Kane is affecting and influencing the game in a certain way, so we can't rule that out. So I think it's a gray area that needs to be ironed out with proper rules. But I felt that we were unlucky to have 2 penalty decisions go against us. And Karius, to be fair, had a very, very solid game in my opinion.
Okay. So
Made some key saves.
fair enough. That's fair. So looking at the actual law, it turns out that the first, as I think you mentioned, the first penalty is not offside because Lovren got a touch on the ball. And the
Right,
rules
right.
state that if the defender made a conscious effort to play the ball, then the offside is pretty much null. It doesn't count anymore. And as you mentioned, I don't think that makes any sense because why should a defender have to make an effort to go for a ball that's meant for an offside player?
Right,
Like
exactly.
that rule just doesn't make any sense to me. And regarding the FA, I think the biggest problem that they have right now isn't their consistency. It's their lack of transparency. We're not living in the Middle Ages anymore where the figure of authority can't communicate with everyone else. We're living in an information age right now. Everyone can communicate about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the way the FA treats everything in the game right now is pretty shocking to me because referees aren't allowed to talk to the media.
Right.
You're not allowed to talk about the referees to the media. Like this isn't a dictatorship is what I'm trying to get at, you know? Like this is an open age
Yeah,
where everyone can talk
I
about
understand what you're
anything.
saying. Yeah, because I
And
feel referees should come out and like talk about their decision, like just
exactly,
like players talk about like post match. I feel like referees should explain their decision.
that would make things so much
That
better
would
and
make
just
things so
make the
much
game a
easier.
lot better. So, yeah, lots of things to talk about there. What did you think about the second penalty?
Oh, the second penalty. There were two camera angles that were shown on different channels. One camera angle showed VVD pulling out of the challenge while Lamela was pushing in.
Mhm.
I do agree there was contact, and I can see why the penalty was given, but
Right.
in the state of the match, the 93rd minute, I've seen those things not being given before.
Okay.
I think it was a soft penalty.
Okay.
Uh,
I think
and also
personally,
Lamela was offside. If VAR was in place,
yeah, but I
that
mean,
would have been called for offside, regardless of how minimal of an offside it is. It's still an
if
offside.
okay, sure. If we ignore the half a leg that was offside though, I do think in real time, I think a lot of people missed it, but you can actually see in one of the angles, VVD's not knee, but
It's his toe, right?
his toe. It kicks
Yeah,
Lamella's
yeah.
calf, and it doesn't look too bad. But if you watch it in real time, you can clearly see how it would hurt and how he would go down. But yeah,
But then
it's
again,
really
you see
contentious.
VVD like pulling out, so it's not intentional.
True,
But then
it's
again, should
obviously
he
not
be in that
intentional. Like he wouldn't
position?
obviously intentionally kick Lamella, but
Right, right.
it's like a mistake on his part partly because he didn't see him coming, and you can't just swipe at something and not know what's around you. But it's really contentious. I just want to say this was like probably the best 15 minutes of football I've seen in my life. It was amazing.
It's that Salah goal though, Messi-esque, Messi.
That Salah goal, that is, as soon as I saw it, I immediately thought of Messi. Like the way
Just
he
the way he
manipulated
like
that ball, I was like, there's no other player who can do that other than Messi and Salah,
the
obviously.
control to just take it from the outside onto his right foot and then over the keeper.
It was
Oh
insane.
man.
Like in the 93rd minute in such a big game, he's a special player, Salah. He's actually a special player.
And if you notice the clip, all the Tottenham players were looking to the referee for a handball, but Salah kept going. And I think that mentality was last seen at Liverpool with Suarez, where he didn't really care about the decision
Mm.
itself. He just wanted
Yeah.
to put the ball in the back of the net.
Well, hopefully Salah doesn't bite someone soon.
Hopefully Madrid doesn't come calling for him in the summer.
I don't know about that. Anyway, so final game of the game week. Watford 4, Chelsea 1. Let's have your thoughts on that.
I don't know what's going on in Chelsea right now. I really do not know what's going on at
Okay, you know
Chelsea.
what? I'm going to say something here.
Go
Why
for it.
on earth does Bakayoko keep getting games?
I,
Why?
I don't know. I
Does he
don't know.
have something on Conte? I don't
I
get it.
swear to God that he probably has something.
Every
Because
single game, he makes no contributions in a positive sense. I haven't seen him do anything positive in a Chelsea shirt. But he
right,
keeps
right.
getting games ahead of the likes of Willian or Fabregas or Drinkwater even. Like, what is this
Right.
man doing? Why does Conte keep playing him? It's almost like he wants to sack. I don't know what's going on, man.
Well, now he has red, so he doesn't have to play.
I don't know. Like,
But Conte might not be in the job by tomorrow anyway.
I think he probably
We'll
will
have to
be.
see.
It's kind of a bad time to sack a manager, but
Yeah, with the Barcelona tie coming up in the Champions League.
I mean, it's just in the middle of the season, and Chelsea, obviously, yeah, they're still in a lot of competitions. So, but I mean, the whole Conte saga has been pretty negative this season. Like
Right.
his pretty clear like outbursts towards the owners of the club in the media. Pretty much every press conference, he just looks like a different manager to what he was last season. Not just manager, but
Right,
person. He just looks
And
like
it's
a
pretty
different.
blatant too. Like he's going like right. It's not even like subtle. He's going straight against like the
Yeah.
board, like in public, which
Mhm.
I don't know. That's not healthy for like a club.
It just
And
seems
that's
like-
happened before with Chelsea too.
Yeah,
If we
it
see the
always
manager,
happens.
Andres Villas-Boas, then there was Mourinho twice. Who every manager who comes out of Chelsea just comes on like a bad note. I don't know why that happens. Because
Yeah.
with other clubs, managers depart on a decent note. Rodgers left Liverpool on a decent note. Like there was no hate. But I feel
For
like
sure.
with Chelsea, the managers hate the club and the club hate the managers. Like there's
Yeah.
something wrong.
Yeah, I feel you. There's definitely something poisonous going on.
But 3 goals,
Four
three
goals.
four goals against.
Watford. Home debut
Bournemouth
for
in the previous game.
yeah, 3 goals. But I mean, wow. De La Fela with his home debut, doing
Right.
really well there. He's a quality signing for Watford. I'm really impressed with
Oh, yeah.
Watford for getting him. And he needed game time, obviously, because obviously the World Cup coming up and everything. He wasn't going to get games with Coutinho coming in and Dembele coming up from injury at Barcelona. So, good for him. And Watford just... I don't even know how well they played or how poorly Chelsea played, but what a result.
What a result, what a game week.
Yes.
That leaves us with United
so-
in second, Liverpool third, Chelsea fourth.
Chelsea
Spurs-
fourth, and Spurs only a point behind now, so there's some hope for Spurs there.
And some
I-
hope for Arsenal, who are 4 behind Spurs
Yeah.
with the North London derby next week.
Oh, true. Good point. Okay, so this is a good point for our mid-podcast break. We'll be right back, guys. Hey guys, welcome back. And it's time for our transfer review.
The biggest transfer, most likely, probably, of the transfer window, and the biggest story was Alexis Sanchez to Manchester United.
Yes, the swap deal, obviously. So, Shrikar, what did you think of this whole transfer fiasco? And who do you think actually got the better deal, first of all?
I think Arsenal did very well in this transfer window to get Mkhitaryan and Aubameyang
Okay, but in terms
as
of
a
this
replacement.
swap,
The swap, the thing is, Sanchez was going to leave anyway, right? Either he was going to leave right now in January or he was going to leave on a free in the summer.
right?
So I think Arsenal have done well, but of course, there's no comparison between Sanchez and Mkhitaryan in terms of quality. We know
Okay.
that Sanchez is a better player in the Premier League.
Fair
so
enough.
United have definitely gotten themselves a better player, but the situation in which Arsenal found themselves with 6 months left on his contract, I think they've recovered well.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I don't know whether Mkhitaryan can go on and become the player that he was at Dortmund with Arsene Wenger and Arsenal. You would certainly hope so, because, I mean, Mourinho, as much as a good manager as he is, he doesn't tend to do too well with attacking players and developing them and making them better attacking players.
Right.
But
And
we all know
we've seen that with Lukaku this season, with Rashford,
with
even.
countless players. He makes teams better, but I wouldn't say he makes individuals better.
Right.
That's his style. But with Arsene Wenger, he seems to place a lot of trust in his players. So you'd like to see Mkhitaryan doing well at Arsenal, and I definitely think he has the quality. He just needs to recover some of his confidence.
Right, and with the link-up play with his former teammate Aubameyang,
Yeah, for sure.
there's definitely potential there.
Yeah, for sure. Sanchez to United. He's 29.
His wages
are skyrocket high. He's 29 years old. I don't know if he's gonna be that as much as
prolific.
United fans hope.
Right.
Just because he's been playing for a long time now, and in this season, even like with Arsenal, he hasn't been playing as well as he used to. It might be just because he knows he's going to leave.
Right.
And it might be because Arsenal just aren't that good of a team.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think United fans have already seen that he does tend to give the ball away a lot. But he's still a quality player. He's going to win United a lot of points this season and next as well. So
this transfer reminds me really a lot of Van Persie in 12-13, where they brought him in just to win a trophy. Like, he came in the very next season, he had a big impact, scored a ton of goals, 30 goals, I think.
Yeah.
And that was the league done. So I think that United wouldn't mind paying the wages they're paying Sanchez if he can deliver another title to them.
That's fair. So, the second big transfer of the window was Van Dyck moving to Liverpool for £75 million.
Finally.
So, Mr. Liverpool fan, let's start off with your thoughts.
Van Dyck. The saga since the summer. Van Dyck wanted to come to Liverpool. Liverpool had the whole fiasco with Southampton, with the public apology. Southampton reporting us to the FA. There was a lot of boo hockey, I guess. But finally the transfer was done. Klopp got his man. And this is kind of a trend with Jurgen Klopp. He is very stubborn. He's a very stubborn manager in terms of players. Because he has held out for half a season, which could have and probably did backfire a little bit when we failed to sign a central defender in the summer when we clearly knew that we needed one. But he held out. He's got his man. 75 million is not a cheap sum by any means.
Southampton kind of held Liverpool for ransom because they knew they had the money after the Coutinho sale.
And they knew that Klopp wasn't going to go anywhere else because he really wanted Van Dijk.
Yeah.
Fair play to Southampton. They've got their money again from Liverpool, which I don't really have an issue with.
It's like, honestly, Southampton are the shopping mart that Liverpool always go to.
Hey, as long as they keep doing a good job with their scouting team, I am all for it. But he had a fantastic debut against Everton, scoring at the Kop end. That's what dreams are made of. But come under a little bit of fire, maybe in the Tottenham game for
almost. I mean, unfairly. Like what
unfairly.
Carragher said, like he's overweight. I'm like, come on, man. Like,
come on, man. Yeah. Like,
you don't know what he's.
That's one thing with Jamie Carragher. He seems to have two different personalities on Sky and on Twitter, because on Sky he tries too hard to be unbiased, so it almost seems as if he's taking a dig at Liverpool. Because I remember, like, with the Karius clearance, they were talking about how he didn't clear it, but no one mentioned the fact that Emre Can failed to clear the ball out of the way, because Karius, like, he fisted the ball out, but that was for Chan, and Chan should have easily cleared that ball. And if Chan had cleared the ball, it would have been a great, I guess, punch by Karius. No one would like talk about it. So I think,
he's been getting some unfair criticism for sure, Van Dijk. But I agree with you. I don't think he deserves it. It's way too early to tell as well.
Right.
But I mean,
and we know he has the quality.
He definitely does.
We know he has the quality.
He's a quality player. In that last game against Tottenham, people are giving him a stick for conceding that penalty, but I mean, no way.
But he had a solid performance in the first half.
He was Liverpool's
bunch of tackles.
He was one of Liverpool's, if not their best player in that game, bar Salah, because the way he commanded the team, he gave them a solidity that I haven't seen Liverpool have this season. And
a lot of people have, like, my preference for the center back pairing is Lovren and Van Dijk instead of Matip and Van Dijk. And a lot of people
Really?
question me on that, but I think it's because Lovren tends to do better when he's not the main defender.
Okay.
Because if you look at Southampton, he had Fonte beside him, and
Right.
Fonte was like the organizer, and Lovren was his like counterpart, right?
Fair.
So I think Lovren does better in that sense when he has a commanding defender beside him.
Interesting.
And I think it's a better option, but we'll have to see. Moving
Yeah,
on to
we
the
definitely
next
will.
transfer. Chelsea had a lot of rumors flying around.
Oh my
Peter
goodness.
Crouch. Any lad over 6 feet.
Honestly, I doubt it's what Antonio Conte wanted, but that's what the board were. I don't know. Like I don't know what goes on with the Chelsea transfer
I don't know. Yeah.
system.
Barkley
But
came in and Giroud came in, and
yeah, Barkley and Giroud.
Barkley I can understand to some
Okay.
extent, but
Honestly, by no means are those transfers that like inspire a club.
no,
No
it's kind of
offense.
like a drink water.
No
It's kind
offense
of
to
like a drink
Giroud or
water.
Barkley. They're
Right.
quality players, but if Chelsea want to be winning the league and they want to be doing well in the Champions League, I mean, those are pretty average players they've just brought in for 15 and 18 million. And again,
I
like
mean, the
they're
price itself isn't too great in the
They're-
current market.
fair
They're
enough,
average prices, but
yeah, but I mean, I don't really know what they're trying to accomplish with this. It almost like Giroud especially seems like a stopgap fix. Like I know he's a
Right,
quality
exactly,
player and he'll do
exactly.
well in the Premier League, but I mean, he's not going to win you the title. He might get you into the top 4 with a few goals, but
maybe.
I don't know what's going on. Conte doesn't seem too happy with the signings. I was kind of sad to see Giroud leave Arsenal as well. I know he
Right,
really
he
liked
was-
the club.
Yeah, he was kind of like Mr. Arsenal in a
Yeah.
little sense. Like he was always there. He was
it
cheery.
just feels weird seeing him in a blue shirt.
Right, more so than seeing even Walcott or Chamberlain in other team shirts.
Yeah,
Like,
weirdly enough, yeah.
yeah.
So-
I felt that Giroud would be like, because he scored 100 goals for Arsenal,
Mm-hmm.
and that's almost legendary status right there.
Yeah. So Walcott as well. We were talking about him. He moved to Everton for 20 million. What do you think about that transfer?
Very smart move on Walcott's part, because like that English core of Arsenal were just regressing.
They were all
did
regressing.
not go any like. I don't know what happened. What Arsenal and Wenger did with them, I don't know. Because Chamberlain has gone to Liverpool, looks like a completely different player. Walcott scored 2 goals last week for Everton.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm really happy to see him doing well because I know he's a really quality player when he has the
Right.
confidence. But he didn't have any confidence recently with Arsenal. He
Mhm.
was.
And I just feel that at Arsenal, with like no managerial change, it just felt like the same thing, the same routine. And even
Yes.
Chamberlain said that in like one of his interviews, that it was every day was the same thing. There was no challenge. They were too
Mhm.
comfortable in their like surroundings. So I think they both made a good decision, like moving away from the club.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think Wilshere is gonna follow suit soon too in the summer. I don't think he's gonna sign a new
Really?
deal. No.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Klopp is
Wilshere-
actually thinking making bid.
Yeah, I guess he could be a good replacement for Chan when Chan leaves in the summer.
Right.
But-
If Chan leaves in the summer, I hope he doesn't.
It seems like he will. We'll see.
I know. It's wishful thinking. Like he hasn't. It's what February 5th. Like he hasn't signed a deal. More
Yeah.
than likely, it's not gonna happen. But
Yeah.
to be fair to Chan though, he's been fantastic model professional.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Going back to the Wilshere thing too. He's competing with Ramsey for that starting spot now, and Ramsey seems like he's really in good form, scoring that hat trick. So before Ramsey
But-
came in, like Wilshere seemed to have that spot nailed down almost for the past
Right.
month. You know, he was doing really well, but Wenger's just put him on the bench as soon as Ramsey's come back. So yeah, I don't know how he'd be feeling right now.
Arsenal just have a bunch of like mid-quality players who they have quality, but I don't know.
They're not good enough to win the title. Not even close.
No, not even close. A top 4 is a stretch.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a pretty eventful January transfer window. We don't have to go into every single transfer.
No,
what
but
we do
loads of
wanna
money.
do- loads of
Big
money
money.
again. So much money actually. I want to spend some time on this actually because I don't know if you noticed, this was like I think the January window with the most net transfer spend ever. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not even surprising at this point because the prices are just getting so inflated ever since
Right.
PSG made that Neymar buy. It just seems like everything has been over the top. I mean, 75 million, you wouldn't even think a
We
striker
sold
is worth that
Suarez to
money.
Barcelona for 75 million.
I know, like I, I, is anyone really
Um,
worth that much money no matter how good you are? Like 75 million pounds.
Coutinho won 42 million pounds. Like I don't. That's like the GDP of a small country.
It's I guess
Like
it's just the amount of money that is in football. So I guess where would you have that money go, right? It has to go
right.
somewhere. It's a global sport, so it
It's supply and demand. Like people want it, they're getting it. There's a price.
anyway, we don't have to dive into that. So, we're going to look at
Looking
next week's
forward to
fixtures
next
and
week's fixtures.
specifically one, the London Derby.
The feature game of next weekend. Very interesting game. Very pivotal for that Champions League spot.
Yeah.
Uh, Arsenal 4 points behind Spurs, 45 and 49. If Arsenal do win this game, that becomes 48 Arsenal, 49 Spurs, and then Chelsea, Liverpool, United above them, which
Mm-hmm.
very very packed, very tightly packed. Who do you think's gonna miss out on top four?
On the top four, at the end of the season, I have to say Arsenal. I mean, they look the weakest, even after their
Right.
signings. Their defense is just all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Even with their new attack, I don't think they're good enough to make the top four. I think City and United are definitely going to make it. I think Liverpool are going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
They're they seem to be strong enough to make the top four, and Salah I think is going to be very pivotal. And
Right. Right.
then I think it's just between Chelsea and Tottenham. And at the beginning of the season, if you told me that it'd be between Chelsea and Tottenham,
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
believe you. But Chelsea have just been so poor recently. I think anything can happen.
Chelsea, I don't know. It really depends on their next the next game week. Because if
Yeah.
Chelsea get a draw or lose again, then like there's gonna be serious questions about Chelsea's credibility for the top four. Because if they drop more points, I
Yeah. But
really see
anyway,
them slipping away.
let's not get away from the London Derby. So Tottenham at home at Wembley. This is their third game in a row that they're playing against a top six rival. Their first was United, and then they played
Mm-hmm.
Liverpool. And so yeah, they're playing Arsenal at home now. Arsenal going away from home, playing against Tottenham. Although they do have a good record against Tottenham, what do you think
And
is
at
going to happen
Wembley,
in this game?
Arsenal have done really well at Wembley in recent seasons.
That's
They're
true.
used to the stadium. Um, I I actually, from a Liverpool point of view, I would prefer either an Arsenal win or a draw.
Okay.
Personally, I really don't want to see Spurs anywhere near the top four ever again.
What do you think is going to
Uh,
happen though? Do you think
what I
Spurs have
think is
enough?
gonna happen, I think Spurs are gonna win this.
I
I
think so too.
I really think yeah. I don't think Arsenal's defense can cope against the likes of
Spurs.
Kane.
Yeah, Spurs haven't been as strong this season at home, and that's obviously because it's not their regular home.
Right.
But they've been in good form recently, and I would be surprised if Arsenal would win this game. To be honest,
I
even
think where
because
the
of their
game's
new
going to be
signing.
won or lost is in the first half an hour because if Arsenal manage to blitz Spurs again like they did Everton,
I don't see that
then it could
happening.
be then it
Nah.
could be game over. But Spurs are a significantly stronger side than Everton.
Arsenal blitzing a top six team. I don't think that's gonna happen. Spurs are too
Yeah,
strong defensively.
right.
Yeah, they're way too strong defensively, and even their midfield is I mean, they don't have the goals of Aaron Ramsey or, I mean, Granit Xhaka is just bang average, but their
Right.
midfield is a lot more solid than Arsenal's is, so I think they're gonna dominate the midfield.
Hmm.
If Christian Eriksen and Dele Alli are on form, then I can see Harry Kane having a good day here because Arsenal's defense has just gotten progressively worse as the season's gone on, especially away from home. So
Right.
I think
I
it's advantage Tottenham in this game.
It should be. It should be a cracking game. It's 7:30 kickoff here, which is early,
Uh huh.
but I'm
In
sure.
Canada.
Yeah, in Canada, but I'm sure we'll be up to at least see part of the game. Hopefully, see the good bits,
Yeah.
and it should be a cracker.
Looking forward to it. Uh, Finally, our section of fantasy Premier League advice. So we're
So
gonna
how
go
long
through.
have we been playing FPL now? 4 years? 3 years?
Um, I think I've been playing for 4 years, but I had one
Yeah,
year in between where I didn't play because I realized that I was watching games just for the intention
solely for the purpose, right?
of
I
my
know what you mean.
Premier my fantasy team doing well, and I realized that's not how I wanted to watch games, so I stopped playing
Mm-hmm.
for a year, but then I came back because
Because it's just so fun.
it's really addicting. Anyway, yeah. So for all you fantasy managers out there, these are our tips and tricks for doing well in fantasy this week. Actually, just talking about the London Derby here. I would personally captain Kane because he always does well in London derbies, and he just tends to do well in most big games as well. So that's my captain pick of the week. What about you,
Also,
Shrieker?
hint, you could triple captain Kane, maybe, if he gets a hat trick.
Maybe, unless you've already used it, but yeah,
Unless you've used it, but usually people don't tend to use it till like the very end.
I used it
Uh,
already.
oh, use it already? I usually keep it till the later game weeks when things get heated, but yeah, Kane captain seems to be the choice, but then again, Liverpool are playing Southampton and Salah's bound to start, which could sway things. I think right now for any fantasy manager, Salah and Kane are must have in their teams.
Oh, definitely. Salah is just next level. He scores or assists every game, so he's a points getter definitely, to say the least.
Right.
Um,
But what are some bargain buys that we can see for people who want to just bring in someone on the cheap and get some cheeky points here and there?
okay, well, we can just start with goalkeeper, and another one who's been playing for almost the entire season but hasn't really been looked at is Nick Pope for Burnley.
Right.
They've been
Fantastic.
yeah, and since Heaton's been injured, Nick Pope has been their first choice goalkeeper, and as we know, Burnley is a very strong team defensively, and
Hmm.
even though they've been on a bit of a winless run, I'm backing them to get out of it against Swansea this weekend. So Nick Pope is a good bargain buy for anyone looking for a good goalkeeper.
In defense, I think Higazi is also a must have. If you look at his points tally, it's remarkable for a defender of West Brom, who
Yeah,
also are a little defensively oriented. But
yeah.
he's been scoring, he's been keeping clean sheets. 4.6 million, which
He's playing
isn't a
Chelsea
lot.
this week though, which is a bit of a call.
But you never know with Chelsea how things are going.
Right. But I would back them to come out of this rut. It's been a pretty long time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so moving on to the top of your team, midfields and forward. Um, in terms of forward, we already mentioned Kane, but Man City are playing Leicester this weekend, which could be a high scoring game. And I
As
would,
it usually is.
yeah, a lot of managers have Mahrez in their teams right now, but he,
I'd say take Mahrez out.
yeah,
You have to transfer Mahrez out.
he hasn't shown up to Leicester training yet, and even if he does show up this week, I doubt they will make him start just because of the entire thing that's gone on.
Right. It'll be a few
So
weeks till Mahrez comes back into any sort of picture.
so you could be looking at other lesser options like Albrighton, Vardy, and even if you're looking for a cheap forward, consider Iheanacho because he's a lesser striker. He used to play for City last season, but he's been coming into the team and doing well recently. So
Right.
Kelechi Iheanacho is a good cheap buy if anyone's looking into that.
Also, in terms of midfielders, Jesse Lingard, who
Yeah.
tends to do well in the United's games against the lower league opposition, he's
Mm-hmm.
been on form this season, and at 6.3, he has good returns, and it's a good addition to any team. I
Yeah.
think
And
Lingard.
going to Newcastle this week. Newcastle are one of the most uninspired teams, sadly, right now in the Premier League.
Mhm.
So yeah, I can see United scoring a bunch of goals there.
Any case for Aaron Ramsey then? He's on 104 points this season.
Good point. And
6.9.
I also think he has a good record in the London Derby, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, he does. He
Ramsey's
does.
another option for sure. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, those wrap up our fantasy Premier League tips of the week, and that also just about wraps up our first episode of the Football Mezzanine, guys. Again, I'm Ansh. This is
And
Shrikar.
I'm Shrikar.
We're both massive fans of the Premier League, so if you like our podcast, come back next week for more.